Good afternoon, City of Refuge. Thanks for taking the time to tune in to our 9th weekly update video. Today, rather than being sitting in my chair in my living room, as I have been for the first 8 videos, I'm coming to you from what will be the sanctuary of our church at some point, here at the building that we own on 35 West Broad Street here in Burlington, and thought it would be just a great idea to change up our location. And also, I just have some things that I want to share with you today. First, a couple of updates, a couple of reminders. This Sunday, we'll be live streaming here on Facebook Live again at 10 o'clock from our home. We'll be having our time of worship, our time of intercession, and be sharing the word with you. Please join us on Sunday as we continue through John chapter 16. I want to thank you again for your giving, especially for your giving toward food relief in the Philippines and Cambodia. This week we were able to send another gift in their direction. They were able to send food to several different areas through several different ministries. In the next week I'll be having pictures and videos to share with you of the children's feeding programs of the villages that have been able to receive food because of your gifts. And so thank you for your generosity. We will continue to give there every week, and so if you would like to continue or to begin giving, you can do that through our website, which is cityrefugefellowship.org. If you go to the secured giving page, there is a spot under missions for General Santos, Gospel Clowns, General Santos, Philippines. If you give there, all of that money will go directly toward food relief. For those that watched the Revelation Bible study this past week, at the end I talked about the fact that I think it would be beneficial for us to have some discussions about Revelation chapter 6 and chapter 7 and then going forward. And so while we can't interact in person right now, I thought that in the in-between weeks of Bible study, we could have some Zoom discussions about what we've just gone through. So this Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, we'll have a Zoom discussion about Revelation chapter 6, verses 1 through 8, the opening of the first 4 seals. There will be an email going out with all of the information. For those of you who signed up on Facebook and said you wanted to take part, we'll get that information to you. If you're watching and you'd like to join the discussion, the more the merrier. And so we'd love to have you join in. Just send us a direct message or an email with your email address, and we'll make sure that you get the meeting information for Zoom. Again, that'll be Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. So, why am I talking to you here from the building today? Well, there's something that I thought would be a great idea for us to do. And that is, while we are in this position of social distancing, while we have to do everything remotely and through live stream, I thought, why not live stream some of our services from here in our building, where we will be having services eventually. So this week, what we're going to do is this coming Friday night, a week from today, at 7 o'clock, we are going to have a time here in the building where I'm going to come and take a few minutes to tell you the story of the building, to tell you the story of how God put it on our hearts, of how God provided, of the years of praying and believing, and then how God suddenly, in His timing, provided what we need to purchase this building. And then also to share with you the vision that God's given us for the building. Not just a place for us to gather and worship, but a place for us to serve, a place for our community to be blessed, a place for God's presence to be, not only have a place to dwell, but to be called on and dwelled in until Jesus returns. And so we're going to do that and then have a time of worship and a time of prayer. If all goes well Friday night and all of our Wi-Fi capabilities work out for us, then next Sunday, May the 10th, we will have our first Sunday service from our building here on Broad Street. It'll be live streamed. It'll just be me and the camera people and the worship team here. But I think it would be very exciting for us to be able to worship together from this property that God has given us, even before we're able to worship at the property that God has given us. And so join us Friday night at 7 o'clock here on Facebook Live for a special time of talking about what God has done, of looking forward to what God has promised, and then of worshiping God in spirit and in truth and in expectation of how He does all things well and He does all things according to His own time. As we finish our time today, there's a verse that's been on my heart all week that I just want to share with you. It's Romans chapter 12, verse 7. Where the apostle writes, "Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer." This passage in the book of Romans, it comes right after Paul telling us all about God's promises to restore and to reconcile and to bring salvation to all of Israel. It comes right after Paul explaining to us as the Gentile believers that we have been grafted into the vine for the purpose of provoking Israel to jealousy so that God can win Israel back to himself. And then Romans chapter 12 begins by saying, therefore, which means as we look toward God's promises, we have a responsibility to live in a way that brings those promises about. And so Paul tells us about living in this way of our bodies as living sacrifices, living in a way of being transformed and not being as we have been, and not letting the culture of the world continue to be what controls our thoughts and our beliefs. And he goes on and tells us that we as the body should each operate in the gifts that we've been given, that we should love one another, that we should care for one another. And then he comes again to this verse that I just read. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. The part I just want to share with you for a minute today is patient in affliction. Patience is not when we wait something out. We're not patient when we wait for it to end, and once it passes, then we can get back to what we are doing. Patience is when we let the work that needs to be done through affliction happen in us and then happen through us. James says, let patience have its finished work, that you may be made perfect and complete, lacking nothing. So that means every time there's a call for patience, there's a purpose involved. Every time there is a trial, there is a tribulation, there is an affliction in which we need to be patient in it, it's because God is working something. He's building something in us, but he's also building something through us. And as you've heard me say during these 9 weeks over and over again, we are in the hands of God. God is doing this. It is not happening to us. This pandemic, these quarantines, these inability to gather the way we're used to. This is not someone robbing us. This is God perfecting something in us. And so I want to challenge you the way that I'm being challenged. And that is, let patience have its perfect work. Do not waste this time. Invest in this time. Let us all come out of this differently so that when we do gather, it's not in memory of where we used to be. It is to charge forward into where we are meant to be. Let patience work in your heart, in your family, in your mind, in your actions, in your beliefs, in your prayer life, in your studies, in your character. Let patience have its perfect work. This is an affliction of some kind. It is an affliction in that we are being taken out of what we're used to. We're having things that we are used to doing that we're not allowed to do. There are people that are sick right now. There are people who've lost loved ones. There is an affliction that is going on. Our calling is to be patient in it, which means to let the work be accomplished in our lives. And so I want to encourage you, keep praying. Don't stop praying. Don't stop praying for the will of God, for the heart of God, for the mind of God. Keep praying for souls to be saved, for bodies to be healed, for communities to change. Keep praying for his kingdom to come and his will to be done in your community, here in my community of Burlington City, as it is in heaven. And keep serving. Prayer has to lead to service. I believe this wholeheartedly. If we don't get up from our prayers to do what our prayers have been about, then we have wasted an opportunity that God has given. So go from your prayer life to a life of service. Find places to serve. We are still, every week, we are delivering groceries. We are delivering food that is needed to different areas of our community, our police department, our school district, Life Academy, different places in our city are giving what is needed to those that are hungry. We want to keep taking part in that. And so if you'd like to be a part of it, you can deliver groceries to us. You can deliver gift cards to us. However God moves you, we will facilitate that to be done. Keep serving. Serve your neighbors. Serve your family members. Serve your co-workers. Serve however you possibly can. Remember, after Jesus washed the disciples' feet, he told them that he had been their example, that now that he had done that to them, they were to do it to each other. So I encourage you, however Jesus is serving you during this season, find someone else to serve the same way. Serve them with encouragement, with blessings, with prayers, with gifts. However God is blessing you, return that blessing to someone else. And finally, connect. keep connecting to each other. Keep calling, keep texting, keep writing, keep having drive-bys where you can have drive-bys, keep having 6-foot-apart conversations where you can, keep tuning in to Facebook and join the Zoom meetings and be a part of everything you can be a part of. It won't be long until all of us go back to our regular schedules. If we have not created new habits of fellowship, we will return to old habits. So let's grow in our devotion. And let's make sure that those that we are reaching out to, that we grab hold of. That it's not just a momentary touch, but that it is an embrace where we begin to recognize we belong to each other. Christ has put us together, and we have a calling to stay together, to walk together in this gift that God has given us called fellowship. And so, thank you again for all that you're doing, for your generosity, for your prayers, for your faithfulness. Please join us Friday night, and if you wouldn't mind, spread the word about next Friday night, about joining us here on Facebook Live. If you know people that don't know the story of how God provided this building to us, please tune in and ask them to tune in with you. If you know the story, be encouraged and hear it again. But join us, gather around your screens, and let's talk about the goodness of God, and let's pray for the courage to believe that if water can come out of a rock, then bread can come down from heaven. If God can give us drink when we're thirsty, He can certainly give us food when we're hungry. And so all of that comes to this. If God can give us the money to purchase this building when it was time, He has the resources we need to have the plans finished, to have the permits granted, to have the resources given, and have the building built so that God can not only fill it with His presence, but He can begin filling it with souls for His kingdom, with transformation by His Spirit, and with glory to Jesus, so that it would lead to redemption of men. God bless you. I look forward to seeing you Sunday, and I look forward and I'm excited for next Friday night to spend this time together here in the building that God's given us. God bless you. Have a great weekend.